In the first season of Slayers, Lena and co are challenged by enemies who all, in one manner or another, lived under the control of another, and that made them an excellent antagonistic force to Lena, who lives life to the fullest by living on her own terms. In Slayers Next, however, all of Lena's enemies live the same way she does. Halciform, Alfred, Consul, Gov, and Fabrizzo all have personal ambitions that they act on under their own power, and even when they choose to partner themselves with others, like in the case of Alfred and Halciform, all parties involved are acting upon their own ambitions, as opposed to serving another like the antagonists of Slayers' first season. With that being the case, however, Slayers now has to expand upon its core themes, and the way it does so is quite striking, so let's talk about it. So the first 2 episodes of this season do a couple of very important things. One, they introduce Zelos and Martina, who are both welcome additions to the cast. And 2, it introduces the theme of obsession. After her kingdom is destroyed, Martina swears revenge on Lena and becomes obsessed with taking her down. Zelgadis too clamors for the Claire Bible in order to restore his human form, even using his friends to his own advantage, much like Zelos in the same episode. All of these characters find themselves possessed in some manner by an obsession that overpowers nearly everything else in their life. Take Halciform, for instance. The former head of Atlas City Sorcery Guild, Halciform's scholarly nature eventually led to his obsession with researching immortality, a venture that would end up costing him everything he cared about in the form of his lover, Rubia. In the wake of her death, Halciform pursues his immortality research with even more fervor, attempting to steal the life force of Lena and her friends. Only this time, the result wouldn't be for him, no. It would be for his precious lover Rubia. That's what he says, at least. He says Rubia was the most important thing in his life, that he was completely content with her by his side, but that's all a lie. If Rubia really meant that much to him, he wouldn't have continued his cursed research, the research that cost him his reputation and his place in Atlas City Sorcery Guild. And all of these selfish ambitions end up coming to a head in the moment of Rubia's revival, if it can even be called that. Halciform dedicated so much of himself, did so much evil for the chance to experience life with his lover again, but when the time finally comes, Rubia only has one thing to say.
Kill me, please.
And what does that imply about the others, I wonder? About Zelos and Martina, about Zelgadis, hell, even about Lena. Halciform isn't the same as Rezo or Eris. Yes, he took on the service of a monster, but that was an equal partnership, not unlike what Lena shares with her friends. Neither party was necessarily subservient to the other. Instead, Halciform and Sagrum both had personal ambitions that they were using each other to try and achieve. In his own way, Halciform lived his life to the fullest, unconcerned with the opinions of others, just like Lena. His path led him to ruin, however, and I think the distinction between these two can be seen in their methods. Halciform's immortality research trampled upon the rights of others. He used innocent people like disposable lab rats in his attempts to bring Rubia back to life, so it's no wonder that she would be horrified and disgusted by his actions, seeking a return to her peaceful slumber. Lena may be similar in the way she frequently disregards the opinions of others, but for all that she may clash with the world around her, she never treats others' lives as disposable. More often than not, we have to push back against the world around us to really live our lives to the fullest, but everybody has the right to do so. The second we decide our personal ambitions are more important than the life of another, we've already lost. That's the truth Lena understands. Every action she takes is one done under her own power. She has allies and friends in the rest of the Slayers, sure, but that doesn't change the fact that she never even considers trampling upon the life of another just to suit her ambitions. Everything she does is unmistakably a consequence of her own actions, for good and ill. That's why she walks away from this conflict with her friends, while everything Halciform created burns to the ground. The next arc immediately challenges this conclusion, however, by putting Lena under a shit ton of stress. First, by pulling her into this conspiracy involving Alfred's attempted coup, and then by sealing away her magic. The tone may stay relatively light throughout this arc, but there's a palpable desperation to Lena's actions here. A desperation that leads to her taking Zelos' words to heart in the climax of this arc.
If you can fool your friends, you can always fool your enemies.
That's exactly what Lena does here, faking her death just for an opportunity to end Consul's life. And it doesn't even work. Lena doesn't hesitate to put her plan into action. Ending the conflict and defeating Consul is so important to her, she never even considers how such a decision might affect her friends. She doesn't even think she did anything wrong until Gowry calls her out.
Oh! Hey, what's the big idea?
Listen, Lena, can you consider my feelings a little next time?
Speaking of, let's talk about our favorite himbo swordsman for a second, because his and Lena's relationship is rather important to understanding the heart of this season. Gowry is a simple man with rather straightforward desires. He wants to protect Lena because she's his friend, and he has fun when he's with her. Gowry feels like he's his best self whenever he's wielding his sword to protect those he cares about, and being with Lena gives him ample opportunity to do so. It's also rather clear that he admires Lena on some level. Just listen to how he talks about her when the squad is assaulted by monsters during this arc.
No matter what, we've gotta hold out. At least until Lena can get back here.
That's why Lena's trick bothers him so much, because the ease with which she's willing to disregard the feelings of her friends in pursuit of victory makes it seem like he means less to her than simply coming out on top of whatever trouble they find themselves in. And it's only after recognizing this that Lena's able to best Consul and save the day, because as bad as she can be at showing it, Gowry means a lot to Lena as well. I mean, let's be real, Lena rarely actually needs a protector. She's more than capable of looking after herself, but just because she can do that doesn't mean she likes being alone. Being with Gowry lets Lena show off her knowledge and magical power. She has someone she can joke around and share her thoughts with. Lena and Gowry feel like they're at the peak of their lives when they're with each other, because they give each other the opportunity to embody the roles that represent their ideal self. But what happens when that's at risk of being torn apart?
You can't escape from me.
So, Gov himself finally makes an appearance.
Gov, the Demon Dragon King, is basically the final form of the path Lena stepped on during the Ragnarblade arc. Despite being one of the 5 Lords of Darkness, he casts aside all those who might be called his allies out of a desire for complete and utter subjugation. He lives life to the fullest at the expense of everyone and anyone who gets in his way. And as the architect behind the Chaos in Atlas City and Saloon, he also challenges Lena's convictions. The Giga Slave is a spell that could easily end Gov's life, but it could just as easily kill Lena's friends and destroy the world. His overwhelming power forces Lena to ask herself if her own life, her desire to live however she pleases, is worth risking everything she holds dear. And in that regard, the two of them are actually quite similar. Having turned against the monster race, Gov finds himself combated on all sides by monstrous foes who deny him the chance to live the way he wants, much like Lena has throughout this season. But Lena never allows herself to live at the expense of others. In the Temple of the Clare Bible manuscript, Auntie Aqua shows Lena how destructive such a path is, so she resolves to find another way to defeat the Demon Dragon King, and her friends support her every step of the way, buying time while she accesses the Clare Bible and defending her so she can deliver the finishing blow. It doesn't work, sure, but Gov still receives his punishment in the form of Slayer's next final form of obsession.
It seems that nobody aside from Zelos realized who I really was. Not Lena Inverse, and not you.
Fabrizio is a being of total and complete obsession. For his goal of returning the world to chaos, he would do anything, sacrifice everything, so long as it resulted in his victory. Even his childish form was a front to help further his ambitions. Even more terrifying, through his constant observation of Lena over the course of the season, he understands that her friends are what's kept her from falling into the trap of obsession. So in order to get what he wants, he'll have to take them away, and he starts with Gowry, that person most precious to her, and even after that he refuses to relent, taunting her with Gowry's visage and forcing them to fight, reviving the city of Cyrag into a zombified state just to fuck with her, shrugging off every attack thrown his way, and then systematically tearing every single one of Lena's friends away from her. Inevitably, if Lena's going to live, her only real option is the Giga Slave, and so, after teetering on the edge of obsession's abyss the whole season, Lena falls. Except not quite. See, there's a very important distinction between this fight and basically every other one Lena's been in. Pretty much her whole life, Lena's primary motivation for fighting has been to continue living. As discussed in my previous video, in order to live life to the fullest, you need to stay alive, and Lena does exactly that. Her actions have saved quite a few lives, yes, but she's not exactly a hero for justice. Sorry, Amelia. In this battle, however, at the moment when Lena finally decides to cast the Giga Slave, she's not doing so to protect her own life. No, she cast the Giga Slave out of a desire to save Gowry, Zelgadis, Amelia, and everyone else she's come to treasure. That's what kept her from falling into the same trappings as Halciform, Gauve, Fabrizzo, and all the other antagonists she's had to contend with. Over the course of Slayer's Next, Lena is continually faced with those who've lost themselves to their obsessions. But Lena's soul was saved because she surrounded herself with great people who care about her, and she never lived her life at the expense of others. That's why Gowry's able to return the favor after Lena defeats Fabrizzo and saves his life. Together, along with the rest of the Slayer's crew, they were able to make their way through the haze of obsession and into a bright future. One that would literally see the world open up before their very eyes. And of course, it's this future Slayer's Try explores. The future, the past, and fate itself. How the hell are you meant to contest that?